Park Ji-ho walked through the main hall of the Galactic Military Academy and felt every eye watching him. The massive space station called Nexus Prime was home to cadets from 800 different worlds. But humans, there were only 12 of them in the whole academy. Ji-ho was not like the other students. He was shorter than most aliens. His skin was soft pink instead of scales or crystal. He had only 2 arms and 2 legs. But there was something about him that made other cadets move away when he passed. Another Deathworlder whispered, a tall blue alien with 4 arms. Why do they let these creatures study here? Ji-ho pretended not to hear. He had been hearing whispers like this for 3 weeks now. Ever since he arrived at the academy, other students treated him like he was dangerous. Maybe they were right. The academy cafeteria was huge. It had to be big enough for aliens of all sizes. Some students were tiny, no bigger than Ji-ho's hand. Others were giants with thick rock skin. The Villani students looked like walking diamonds. Their crystal bodies caught the light and made rainbow patterns on the walls. Ji-ho got his food from the human section. The academy had special food for each species. Human food was simple compared to what other aliens ate. Some species ate only light. Others ate metal. A few ate things that would kill humans in seconds. He sat at an empty table near the window. Outside, he could see space and distant stars. This academy was far from Earth, far from home. Mind if I sit here? Asked a voice. Ji-ho looked up. A girl with short black hair stood holding a food tray. She was human, one of the other 11. Sure, Ji-ho said. I am Ji-ho-yoon Mirai, she said, sitting down. I study battle planning. You were in the combat program, right? Ji-ho nodded. Yes, though I am not sure I will pass. Mirai looked confused. Why? Your test scores are good. I saw them posted. Test scores do not matter if everyone is afraid of you, Ji-ho said quietly. Mirai looked around the cafeteria. It was true. Other students sat far away from their table. Some kept looking at Ji-ho, then looking away quickly when he noticed. They call us Deathworlders, Mirai said. Did you know that? I heard. Earth is the only planet in the galaxy where life has to fight to survive every single day, Mirai explained. Most worlds are peaceful. No big storms, no dangerous animals, no wars. Their evolution was easy. She pointed to a table of Korthon students. They had huge heads and tiny bodies. The Korthon never had predators on their world. They just grew. Bigger brains. They think violence is stupid and primitive. Then she pointed to some Zephyrian students who moved like water. The Zephyrians never had to fight for food. Their planet gives them everything they need. They cannot understand why any species would develop aggression. But we are different, Ji-ho said. Yes, Earth tried to kill our ancestors every day. Earthquakes, volcanoes, ice ages, predators with teeth like knives. Diseases that killed millions. Only the strongest and smartest humans survived. That is why we are the way we are. Ji-ho understood. Humans were built for war because Earth had been a battlefield for millions of years. The other species evolved past violence, Mirai continued. They see us as primitives who never learned to be civilized. Maybe they are right, Ji-ho said. Mirai shook her head. No. Being able to fight does not make us bad people. It just makes us different. After lunch, Ji-ho went to his combat theory class. The teacher was Commander Veltar, a draconian with green scales and golden eyes. Draconians looked like the dragons from old Earth stories, but they were peaceful. Now, their species had given up war 3,000 years ago. Today we begin practical combat assessment, Commander Veltar announced. This is not about fighting. This is about understanding battle strategy and knowing when to retreat. The combat arena was a large white room with soft floors and walls. It was designed to be safe for all species. No one was supposed to get hurt during training. Combat in the modern galaxy is about defense only, the commander explained. We do not attack, we do not cause harm. We study combat so we can avoid it. Ji-ho raised his hand. What if avoiding combat means others get hurt? Commander Veltar's golden eyes focused on HFY Cadet Park. Civilized species always find peaceful solutions. Violence is never the answer. But what if no more questions? The commander said firmly. Violence is a primitive response. You will learn proper combat behavior here. The first demonstration began. Two pixie students faced each other. Pixies were small and looked like tiny humans with wings. When the exercise started, they moved in slow, careful circles. Neither tried to attack. After a few minutes, both students bowed and stepped back. Perfect, Commander Veltar said. This is how civilized beings handle conflict. Next, a Gorvani student entered the arena. Gorvani were huge, with thick gray skin like elephants. The Gorvani faced a small thornling, a plant-like species with flower petals for hair. The Gorvani was 50 times bigger than the thornling. It would be easy for the big alien to hurt the small one. But instead, the Gorvani moved very slowly and carefully. When it got close to the thornling, it stopped and bowed. The thornling bowed back. Exercise over excellent control, the commander said. Size and strength mean nothing. Wisdom and restraint mean everything. HFY watched these demonstrations and felt something strange in his chest. His heart was beating faster, his muscles were getting tense. This was not how humans would handle these situations. On Earth, when something big threatened something small, the small thing either ran or fought back. It did not just bow and hope for the best. That was how you got eaten. Cadet Park, Commander Veltar called. You will demonstrate next. HFY's blood went cold. Sir, face Cadet Vorthak in a standard defensive exercise. Vorthak was a young draconian like the commander. He was twice HFY's height, with scales that looked like metal armor. His claws were longer than HFY's fingers, even though draconians never used them for fighting anymore. HFY walked to the center of the arena. Around the edges, other cadets gathered to watch. He could see fear in their eyes. They expected something bad to happen. Vorthak moved to the other side of the arena. Do not worry, Deathworlder, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I will be gentle with you. Some students laughed. HFY felt heat rise in his face. Remember the rules, Commander Veltar announced. Defensive postures only. Yield when overwhelmed. Maintain academic decorum. HFY nodded. He understood the rules. But as he looked at Vorthak's confident smile and heard the other students whispering about the primitive human, something deep inside his brain began to wake up. Something that had kept humans alive on Earth for millions of years. Something that did not care about rules or decorum or civilization. Something that never ever stepped back. The exercise began. HFY stood in the center of the white combat arena. Around him, 50 cadets from 30 different worlds watched quietly. This was supposed to be a simple training exercise. No one expected anything exciting to happen. Vorthak stretched his wings and smiled. The young draconian was popular at the academy. He was smart, polite, and came from one of the most respected species in the galaxy. His scales shone like green metal under the arena lights. Ready, little human? Vorthak asked. His voice was friendly, but HFY could hear the mockery underneath. HFY said nothing. He took the standard defensive position that Commander Vel had taught them. Feet apart, hands up, but not in fists, weight balanced. It was designed to look non-threatening, while still being ready to block an attack. Begin exercise, Commander Veltar announced. For the first few seconds, nothing happened. Vorthak moved slowly in a circle around HFY. This was normal. In academy combat training, students were supposed to study each other first, look for weaknesses, plan their defense. HFY turned to keep facing Vorthak. His heart was beating faster. Now, something felt wrong about this whole situation. Every instinct in his body was telling him that circling like this was dangerous. On Earth, predators circled their prey before attacking. But this was not Earth. This was a civilized academy, where violence was not allowed. HFY tried to remember. That Vorthak began his traditional intimidation display. He spread his wings wide, making himself look bigger. He hissed softly, showing his sharp teeth. His claws extended from his fingers. In ancient times, this display would have made enemies run away in fear. Classic draconian defensive posture, Commander Veltar explained to the watching cadets. Designed to avoid actual combat through psychological pressure, the other students nodded and took notes. They saw this as an educational demonstration. Jiho saw something else entirely. When Vorthak spread his wings, Jiho's brain registered a threat display. When the draconian hissed and showed his teeth, every alarm in Jiho's nervous system started screaming. When those claws came out, something ancient and primal in the human's mind decided that this was a life-or-death situation. Jiho did not step back. Instead, his body began to change without his permission. His adrenal glands dumped chemicals into his bloodstream, his heart rate doubled, his muscles tensed. His vision became sharper. His hearing became more sensitive. This was the fight-or-flight response that had kept humans alive for millions of years. But humans from Earth had a third option that most species never developed. Fight back harder. Very good intimidation technique. Commander Veltar was saying, now the human should yield or retreat to show he understands. Vorthak made his move. It was supposed to be a gentle advance, just walking forward to show dominance. But to Jiho's prehistoric brain, it looked like an attack. Time slowed down. Second one. Jiho's nervous system flooded with combat hormones. His muscles received 3 times their normal strength. His reflexes became faster than any civilized species could imagine. Second 2. Jiho's brain shut down all unnecessary functions. He stopped thinking about academy rules or galactic civilization. His mind became focused on one thing only: survive the threat in front of him. Second 3. Jiho moved. He did not move like the other cadets had moved. He did not circle carefully or pose defensively. He moved like lightning, like a striking snake, like death itself. Jiho lunged forward, low and fast. Vorthak was not ready for this. In 3,000 years of peaceful draconian civilization, no one had ever attacked during a training exercise. Second for Jiho hit Vorthak in the center of his chest with his shoulder. The impact knocked the wind out of the draconian and sent him stumbling backward. Second 5. Before Vorthak could recover, Jiho grabbed the draconian's arm and twisted. It was a move that human warriors had used for thousands of years. Simple, effective, brutal. Second 6. Vorthak fell to the ground hard. His wings tangled beneath him. His confident smile was gone, replaced by shock and pain. Second 7. Jiho followed him down. His hand moved to Vorthak's throat, not to squeeze, but to control. This was pure instinct now. Control the enemy's ability to breathe, and you control the fight. Second 8. Jiho crouched over Vorthak, like a predator over prey. His eyes were wide and wild. His teeth were bared in a snarl that had not changed since humans lived in caves. Every muscle in his body was coiled and ready to strike again. And that was when the screaming started. It began with a small pixie student who had never seen real violence before. Her high-pitched shriek of terror pierced the air. Then, a thornling student joined in, his flower petals turning black with fear. Within seconds, half the arena was filled with sounds of panic. Some students ran for the exits. Others pressed themselves against the walls. A few fainted completely. Species that had not known fear for thousands of years suddenly remembered what their ancestors had felt when death was hunting them. But Jiho heard none of it. He was still locked in combat mode, still ready to fight for his life. Vorthak lay beneath him, gasping and staring up at the human with new understanding. This was what a Deathworlder really was. Stop, Commander Veltar roared. Cadet Park, release him immediately. The commander's voice cut through the noise and chaos. Slowly, very slowly, Jiho began to come back to himself. He looked down at Vorthak and realized what he had done. He let go of the draconian's throat and stepped back. His hands were shaking now. Not from fear, but from the chemicals still flooding his system. I am sorry, Jiho whispered. Vorthak sat up slowly, rubbing his throat. His green scales had turned pale. "What are you?" he asked quietly. "I am human," Jiho said. "I am from Earth." Around them, the arena was in chaos. Some students were still screaming, others were crying. A few were calling for security. Commander Veltar was shouting orders, trying to restore calm, but none of that mattered to Jiho. He looked at his hands, still trembling from adrenaline. 8 seconds. That was all it had taken to destroy 3 weeks of trying to fit in. 8 seconds, to prove that humans really were too dangerous for civilized society. 8 seconds to show the galaxy what happened when a Deathworlder stopped pretending to be something he was not. Mireille appeared at his side, the only person in the arena who was not afraid to get close to him. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly. Jiho looked at the chaos around them, at the terrified students, at Vorthak, who was still staring at him like he was a monster. "No," he said. "I do not think I am." Security guards were coming now. Jiho could see them running down the corridor toward the arena. Soon he would be arrested, probably expelled, maybe sent back to Earth in chains. But as he waited for his fate, one thought kept running through his mind. He had not stepped back. When faced with a threat, real or imagined, he had done what every human ancestor had done for millions of years. He had fought. And deep down, in a part of his mind that he did not want to acknowledge, he was not sorry for what he had done. He was proud. Jiho sat alone in the medical bay. The room was white and quiet, designed to calm patients from all species. But Jiho was not here because he was hurt. He was here because everyone else was too scared to be near him. It had been 3 hours since the incident in the combat arena. 3 hours since 8 seconds changed everything. The medical bay door opened. Kim Suyang walked in carrying a medical scanner. She was another human cadet, training to be a doctor for alien species. Unlike the other students, she did not look afraid. "How are you feeling?" she asked, sitting down beside him. "Everyone hates me now," Jiho said quietly. "No, everyone fears you. That is different." Suyang activated her scanner and pointed it at Jiho. "Your stress levels are still very high. Your adrenaline is almost back to normal, but not quite. I did not mean to hurt him. But you did hurt him. Vorthak has bruises on his chest and throat. He will be fine, but he experienced real pain for the first time in his life." Suyang put down her scanner. "Do you know what that means?" Jiho shook his head. "Draconians evolved on a world with no predators, no natural disasters, no violence. They have never needed pain receptors as sensitive as ours. When you grabbed his throat, it probably felt like fire to him." Jiho felt sick. "I am a monster." "No," said a new voice. They turned to see Professor Yang Dayun enter the medical bay. He was the only human teacher at the academy, an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. "You are not a monster. You are exactly what evolution designed you to be." Professor Yang sat down across from them. "I have been in emergency meetings for the past 3 hours. Half the Academy Council wants to expel all human students immediately. The other half wants to ship you back to Earth in a prison transport." "What did you tell them?" Suyang asked. "I told them the truth. That what happened in that arena was not Jiho's fault, it was biology." Jiho looked up. "How is attacking someone?" "Not my fault." Professor Yang leaned forward. "Jiho, what did you see when Vorthak spread his wings and showed his claws?" I saw a threat, something dangerous." "Exactly. Your brain interpreted his actions as an attack display. Every human would have seen the same thing. Our ancestors survived by reacting instantly to threats, not by stopping to think about whether the threat was real." "But this is not ancient." Earth Jiho said. "This is a civilized academy." "Yes, but your nervous system does not know that. When you saw what looked like a predator about to attack, millions of years of evolution took control." Professor Yang stood up and walked to the window. "Other species had easy evolution. They grew bigger brains or faster legs or better camouflage. We grew something else." "What?" Suyang asked. "We grew the ability to win fights we should not be able to win. To keep fighting when we should be dead. To never ever give up." He turned back to them. That is why we are called Deathworlders. Not because we love death, but because we refuse to accept it. The door opened again. This time it was Murray, looking worried. Jiho, the Academy Council wants to see you now. The council chamber was huge, designed to hold representatives from hundreds of species. Today, only 12 council members were present. But Jiho felt very small walking into the room. Dean Mordeth sat at the center of the curved table. He was a collective, a species that looked like floating silver smoke with glowing eyes. His voice echoed strangely when he spoke. Cadet Park, Jiho, you stand accused of unprovoked assault against a fellow student. Admiral Kastari, a Vorthan with blue crystal skin, leaned forward. In my opinion, this incident proves that humans are too dangerous for military service. I recommend immediate expulsion of all human cadets. I agree, said Councillor Thresherwin, whose flower-like head petals were dark with fear. Violent species have no place in civilized society. Jiho felt his heart sink. This was it. He would be expelled, and probably all the other humans too. 12 promising careers destroyed, because he could not control himself for 8 seconds. May I speak? Professor Yang asked, standing from the back of the room. You may, Dean Mordeth, said. Professor Yang walks to the center of the chamber. Honorable council members, what you witnessed today was not mindless violence. It was precise, controlled, and effective combat. Controlled. Admiral Kestari's crystal face flashed red with anger. The human attacked without warning. Yes, because that is what saved his life on Earth for millions of years. Humans do not attack randomly. We attack when our threat detection systems identify genuine danger. But there was no danger. Councillor Thresherwin protested. To you, there was no danger. To a human nervous system, trained by evolution, to recognize predator behavior. Vorthak's display was a clear threat signal. Professor Yang activated a holographic display. It showed brain scans of different species. This is a draconian brain. During the intimidation display, see how calm it is? Draconians use these displays for social communication, not for actual threats. The display changed. This is a human brain seeing the same display. Notice the massive activation in the threat detection centers. The flood of combat hormones. To Jiho's brain, he was about to be killed. Dean Mordeth studied the brain scans. You were saying the human had no choice. I am saying the human made the choice that kept his species alive for millions of years. When faced with what appeared to be imminent death, he chose to fight rather than flee. But he could have chosen to retreat. Admiral Kestari argued. Professor Yang smiled sadly. Admiral, with respect, humans who chose to retreat when faced with predators did not live long enough to have children. We are descended from the humans who stood and fought. The chamber fell silent. Jiho watched the council members exchange glances. Some looked thoughtful. Others still looked afraid. There is another issue, Dean Mordeth said finally. Even if we accept your explanation, how can we trust humans not to attack again? Because, Professor Yang said, humans can learn to control these instincts. We have been doing it for thousands of years as we've built civilization, but we cannot eliminate them completely. And honestly, you would not want us to. What do you mean? Councillor Thresherwin asked. Professor Yang's expression became serious. Because someday, this galaxy may face a real threat. Not a training exercise or a diplomatic disagreement, but genuine mortal danger. When that day comes, you will want people who know how to fight. The galaxy is at peace, Admiral Kestari said. We have been at peace for centuries. The galaxy has been at peace because nothing has threatened it yet. But peace is not a natural state. It is something that must be protected. Professor Yang looked directly at Jehovah. And sometimes, protection requires people who will not step back. The council deliberated for an hour. When they returned, Dean Mordeth's silver smoke form seemed dimmer than before. Cadet Park, Jiho. The council has decided not to expel you. However, you will be placed on academic probation. Any further incidents will result in immediate dismissal. Jiho felt relief wash over him. Thank you. Furthermore, Admiral Kastari added, all human cadets will undergo additional training in violence suppression. No, Professor Yang said firmly. If you try to suppress their combat instincts, you will only make them weaker. Instead, train them to recognize when those instincts are appropriate and when they are not. And who will provide this training? Dean Mordeth asked. I will, Professor Yang said. Along with the other human cadets, we will teach them to master their nature, not deny it. As they left the council chamber, Mireille caught up with Jiho in the corridor. So what happens now? She asked. Jiho looked back at the closed chamber doors. Now I have to prove that a human can learn to control himself without losing what makes him human. And if you cannot, Jiho thought about the 8 seconds in the arena, about the moment when his ancient instincts took over, about the pride he had felt, even as everyone around him screamed in terror. Then I guess we find out if the galaxy really needs people like us after all. 3 days passed quietly at the academy. Jiho attended his classes, but other students still moved away when they saw him coming. The cafeteria became silent whenever he entered. Even the teachers seemed nervous around him. Jiho was studying. In the library, when the emergency alarms began to sound, red lights flashed throughout the station. A robotic voice echoed through the corridors. Attention all personnel. This is not a drill. Unknown hostile forces approaching Nexus Prime. All students, report to evacuation stations immediately. The library erupted in panic. Villani students. Crystal bodies began to glow bright with fear. Corthan students clutched their large heads and moaned. Zephyrians moved so fast they became blurs of motion, crashing into walls and each other. But the 12 human students remained calm. Jiho found Mireille at her study table. She was reading something on her tablet instead of running for the exits. What are you looking at? He asked. Sensor data, she said grimly. This is bad, Jiho, really bad. She showed him the screen. 20 large ships were approaching the academy. They were black and angular, covered in weapons. They moved in perfect formation, like hunting wolves. Who are they? Jiho asked. Void hunters, said Professor Yang, appearing beside them. His face was pale. I thought they were extinct. What are void hunters? Mireille asked. Machines, Professor Yang said. Ancient war robots from before the galaxy was civilized. They were built to hunt and kill spacefaring species. We thought they were destroyed thousands of years ago. More alarms began to sound. The robotic voice spoke again. Hull breach in Sector 7. Hostile boarding pods detected. All combat-capable. Personnel report to defensive positions. Combat-capable personnel, Jiho asked. But this is an academy. We are just students. Professor Yang looked grim. The academy has some security guards, but they are not soldiers. They are trained to break up fights between students, not to battle ancient war machines. Through the library windows, they could see escape pods launching from the station. Thousands of students and teachers were fleeing to safety, but the evacuation was slow, too slow. Professor Mireille said quietly, how long until everyone is evacuated? At current speed, 4 hours. And how long until those void hunters reach the main population centers? Professor Yang checked his tablet. 30 minutes. The math was simple. Most of the people on the station would not escape in time. Mireille stood up. Then we have to slow them down. Professor Yang asked. The humans, all 12 of us. Mireille's voice was steady and calm. We are the only ones here who know how to fight. Professor Yang shook his head. You are students, not soldiers. I cannot ask you to. You are not asking, Jiho said, standing beside Mireille. We are volunteering. One by one, the other human students joined them. Sunho, the quiet boy from Jiho's combat class, Suyang the medical student, Huji, who studied alien biology, Giwon, the tactical specialist, 8 others, all young, all scared, but all determined. This is suicide, Professor Yang said. Void hunters were designed to kill entire civilizations. You are just cadets. Yes, Mireille said. But we are human. Cadets, we come from a death world. We know how to do things that should be impossible. The station shuddered as something large hit the hull. More red lights began flashing. Hostile forces have breached Sector 7. Combat units proceeding to Sector 6. Commander Veltar's voice came over the communication system. All remaining personnel. This is a direct order. Retreat to the evacuation zones immediately. Do not attempt to engage the enemy. Professor Yang activated his communication device. Commander, this is Yang Daeyeon. I have 12 human cadets who can help defend the station. Absolutely not, came the reply. I will not send students to fight those monsters. Commander Murray said, taking the device. With respect, you do not have a choice. Your security teams cannot stop these things. The evacuation will not be finished in time. Either you let us try to slow them down, or thousands of people die. A long pause. Then, what do you need? Complete control of the defensive systems, access to all weapons lockers, and permission to ignore all Academy combat regulations. Another pause. Cadet, you are asking me to let untrained humans run wild with military weapons? Yes, Murray said simply. That is exactly what I am asking. Jiho understood what she meant. The Academy's combat regulations were designed for civilized species, who wanted to avoid violence. Those rules would get them killed against machines built for war. But humans had different rules. Older rules, rules written in blood and tested by millions of years of survival. Permission granted, Commander Velt said finally. May the ancestors forgive me. The 12 humans split into 3 teams. Murray led the tactical team to the command center. Suyang took the medical team to establish aid stations. Jiho led the assault team to ward the breach. As they ran through the corridors, Jiho felt the familiar change in his body. His heart rate increased, his senses became sharper, his muscles tensed with energy. But this time, he did not fight the feeling. This time, it felt right. They reached Weapons Locker 7. Inside were training weapons designed to be safe for all species. Foam projectiles, stun devices set to minimum power, non-lethal restraints. This will not work against war machines, Sunho said. Heiji was studying a wall panel. There, she said, pointing. Emergency military supplies. In case the Academy was ever attacked. Jiho ripped open the emergency panel. Inside were real weapons. Human-designed weapons. Projectile rifles that fired metal bullets. Explosive charges. Combat armor. How did you know these were here? Asked Heiji. I studied the station blueprints for my xenobiology project. Humans always hide weapons, even on peaceful stations. It is our nature. They put on the armor and grabbed the weapons. As they did, Jiho felt something he had never experienced before. He felt like he was becoming who he was always meant to be. The corridor ahead filled with smoke. Through it came the first Void Hunter. It was larger than Jiho had expected. 3 meters tall, made of black metal, with red glowing eyes and weapons. Built into its arms, it moved with mechanical precision. Scanning for targets, the other assault team members raised their weapons, but Jiho held up his hand. Wait, he said quietly. Let it get closer. Are you insane? Sunho whispered. It has missiles. Yes, and we have something it does not expect. Jiho smiled grimly. We have the willingness to do whatever it takes to win. The Void Hunter detected them and began to raise its weapons. Jiho counted in his head. 3 seconds until it could fire. 2 seconds. 1 second. Jiho dove to the left. Sunho rolled right. The missiles flew between them and exploded against the wall behind them. Before the Void Hunter could reload, Jiho was moving. Not the careful defensive movement they taught at the Academy, but the lightning-fast attack of a predator. He hit the machine low and hard, just like he had hit Vorthak in the arena. But this time, he did not stop with one attack. This time, he kept fighting. 8 seconds later, the Void Hunter was on the ground. Its head torn off by explosive charges, its red eyes dark. Impossible, Sunho breathed. How did you move so fast? Ji stood up, breathing hard, but grinning. Because this time, I did not have to hold back. The corridor ahead was full of smoke, and the sounds of more machines approaching. But for the first time since he arrived at the academy, Jiho felt completely at home. He was doing what humans did best. He was fighting for something that mattered, and he was not stepping back. The battle for Nexus Prime raged for 8 hours, 8 hours that changed how the galaxy saw humans forever. Jiho's assault team fought through corridors filled with smoke and fire. The Void Hunters were everywhere, but they were not prepared. For enemies who fought like humans, the machines had been built to fight civilized species. They expected opponents who would retreat when outnumbered, who would surrender when wounded, who would follow logical battle patterns. Humans did none of these things. When cornered, they fought harder. When wounded, they became more dangerous. When outnumbered, they found ways to turn their enemy's strength against them. Sunho discovered that Void Hunters had blind spots in their senses. He crawled through maintenance shafts that would terrify other species and attacked the machines. From above, his claustrophobia, training from Earth's caves, served him well in the tight spaces. Hyeji used her knowledge of alien biology to understand machine psychology. She realized the Void Hunters were programmed to target the biggest threats first, so she made herself look weak and helpless, then destroyed them with hidden explosives when they ignored her. But it was Jiwan who made the discovery that won the battle. They are too predictable, she shouted over the sound of weapons fire. She was in the command center with Mireille, coordinating the defense. Look at their attack patterns. They always do the same thing. Mireille studied the tactical display. You are right. They scan, identify threats, eliminate threats, move forward. Always in that order. But that is how rational beings fight, Giwan said. What if we did something completely irrational? What do you mean? Guan grinned. It was not a nice grin. It was the grin of a predator who had found her prey's weakness. What if we attacked their main force directly, all of us, at the same time, with no plan except to cause as much damage as possible? That is suicide, Mireille said. Yes, any logical species would think so, but we are not logical. We are human, Mireille understood. The Void Hunters were programmed to fight rational opponents. They would never expect an entire force to throw themselves into hopeless combat for no tactical advantage. But humans had been doing exactly that for millions of years. It was called courage. Do it, Mireille said. G1 activated the communication system. All human teams, this is G1 new plan. We attack everything at once. That is insane. Sunho's voice crackled through the speakers. Yes, G1 agreed. That is why it will work. The 12 humans gathered in the main corridor. Around them, the station was burning. Emergency lights flashed red. The air smelled of smoke and melted metal. Ahead of them, 20 Void Hunters waited in perfect formation. They had been systematically destroying the station's defenses, moving forward with mechanical precision. Any last words? Su Yang asked. She was bandaging a cut on her arm, but her medical bag was full of improvised explosives now, instead of healing supplies. Yes, Jiho said. He looked at his fellow humans. 3 weeks ago, they had been strangers trying to fit into an alien academy. Now they were a pack of predators ready to do the impossible. We are the children of Earth, he said. Our world tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We survived ice ages and volcanoes. We fought predators with claws and teeth. We built civilization in spite of wars and plagues and disasters that would destroy any other species. The others nodded. They understood. Today, we show the galaxy what that means. We show them why Deathworlders never step back. They charged. It was not a tactical advance. It was not a strategic maneuver. It was pure, primal aggression, unleashed on enemies who had no programming to deal with it. Jiho led the charge, screaming a battle cry that his ancestors had used when they fought with spears and clubs. Behind him came 11 other humans, each one fighting like their world had taught them to fight. Without mercy, without retreat, without fear. The Void Hunters tried to respond logically. They raised their weapons and began to fire. But the humans did not attack in straight lines or predictable patterns. They scattered like wolves, each one finding their own path to the enemy. Sunho slid under a machine's legs and planted explosives. On its power core, Hyuji threw herself directly at a Void Hunter's chest, wrapping her arms around its weapon systems so it could not fire. Suyang used her medical knowledge to find the machines, critical systems, and destroy them with surgical precision. But it was Jiho who reached the command unit first. The lead Void Hunter was larger than the others, covered in heavier armor, armed with weapons that could destroy entire buildings. It turned its red eyes on Jiho and calculated the threat level. One small human. No significant weapons. No armor. No logical reason to be afraid. The machine was wrong on all counts. Jiho did not try to outfight the command unit. Instead, he did something no rational being would ever attempt. He jumped directly onto the machine's back and held on. The Void Hunter spun and thrashed, trying to throw him off. Its weapons could not target something so close. Its logical programming had no solution for an enemy who would cling to certain death rather than let go. While the command unit was distracted, the other humans swarmed it. They climbed on its legs and arms like angry insects. They jammed its joints with broken metal. They poured explosives into every opening they could find. 8 seconds later, the command unit exploded. With their leader destroyed, the remaining Void Hunters began to malfunction. Their formation broke apart. Their coordinated attack became chaos. One by one, the humans hunted them down and destroyed them. When the smoke cleared, 12 humans stood among the wreckage of 20 war machines. They were covered in cuts and burns. Their clothes were torn. Their weapons were broken. But they were alive, and the station was safe. The rescue fleets arrived 6 hours later. They expected to find a destroyed academy and thousands of dead students. Instead, they found Nexus Prime intact and 12 human cadets sitting in the cafeteria, sharing stories and treating their wounds. Admiral Kastari was the first to speak with them. The same Vorthan who had wanted all humans expelled 3 days earlier. How was all she asked. Jiho looked up from the bandage Suyang was wrapping around his arm. We did what humans do, he said simply. We fought for something that mattered to us. But the Void Hunters were designed to be unstoppable. They were designed to fight civilized opponents, Murray corrected. We are not civilized, we are human. The academy reopened 2 weeks later. But things were different now. The combat training program was completely redesigned. Instead of teaching students to avoid violence, it now taught them to understand when violence was necessary and how to apply it effectively. Jiho became the program's first student instructor. The same combat arena where he had been feared and hated became the place where he taught other species about courage, determination, and the willingness to fight for others. Vorthak was his first student. I want to learn, the young Draconian said on the first day of new classes. I want to understand what you did in those 8 seconds. Jiho smiled. I can teach you the techniques, but I cannot teach you to be human. That is something you are born with or without. Then teach me. What you can, Vorthak said, and maybe I can learn to be a little bit braver. The lesson began with the same exercise that had caused so much trouble before. But this time, when Vorthak spread his wings and showed his claws, Jiho did not attack. He did not step back either. Instead, he held his ground and smiled. Very good intimidation display, he said. Now let me show you what happens when someone refuses to be intimidated. Around them, students from dozens of species watched and learned. They learned that violence was not evil when it protected the innocent. They learned that aggression was not wrong when it served a noble purpose. Most importantly, they learned that sometimes the most civilized thing you can do is refuse to step back from a fight. Because, in a dangerous galaxy, someone has to stand firm when darkness comes calling. Someone has to be willing to fight. And thanks to 12 human cadets and 8 terrible seconds, the galaxy now knew exactly who those someones were. The Deathworlders, who never stepped back.